let us begin then on experience. So this is the meat. This is what matters, okay? This is how you're going to be judged, and this is your opportunity to really get across how amazing you are. Now, let me just say that again. How amazing you are. Now, you are really, really good. Most people are, right? Most people get up in the morning wanting to do a good job, right? It is rare to find people that get up in the morning and go, right, I'm going to do a really crappy job today, right? Most of us want to do a good job, okay? And 9 times out of 10, you are aiming to do a good job all the time, okay? And let us be clear that you, if you're watching this video, you have specifically identified yourself as someone that cares about your career, about how you're presented, about how you move forward. So the chances are you are very, very good. The problem, the real challenge, is making sure that that is illustrated on your CV. And this irritates me no end. It winds me up massively. It's one of the reasons that drives me to be doing this and my TikTok lives and to be helping as many people as I can. It's a personal mission of mine to help people with their career. And often it comes down to experience. And that's where I am challenging constantly about the bullet points that someone's using. Because we want to know, as hiring managers, how good you are, right? We care. Show me. We want to see outcomes, not just duties. So outcomes as in, so what? So you led a team of people. Great. And to what objective? How did that go? What did you achieve? What was the point? How many people was that? How many teams was that? How long did you lead them? What were you aiming to do? What were your objectives? What did you achieve? Right, all of this. So this section is, in most cases, the critical bit, the most important. All right, put a ton of effort in here. Challenge yourself continually to make sure that you are putting your best foot forward. Right, as I'm saying, or as I said earlier, you're good, right? You're really good. But does it say so on the CV? So that's what we're going to get into, okay? Let's get into that. Now, so I've taken you through the styling, and you've hopefully got a style in mind on what you want and how you want to be doing things, right? In terms of layout and CV style. Here's how I like to do things. Just without showing you anything, I'm just going to describe it, okay? I like to see company name, not job title first, company name. I like to see that because that's often how people are creating that summary of you. So when I'm reading your CV, okay, I'm going through it, right? And let's just, for simplicity, I'm going to say Netflix, IBM, Tesco, right? I'm reading your CV, I'm scanning it and then reading it, okay? And then I'm making a profile of you in my head. That's why it's not helpful you giving your summary, okay, by the way, right? Because I'm making it up myself, because I have to. Because I need to then pitch you to my boss or to somebody else, okay? And we'll be having conversations like this, okay? So what have you got? What do you think? Oh, my guy, so Netflix, then data analysis for IBM, and then Tesco. Yeah, right, so often we're picking the last 3 names, okay? Now, if it's a name we don't know, then we'll say, it's JH and Sons, data analysis. Yeah, they were pretty big, or they're very small, so he did a lot. He did a lot in the company, right? So that's, I think, very useful. Or, well, this one, he doesn't have much experience in a big company like ours, but actually, look at the detail here. So we're making up these descriptions from your experience, okay? And then we're debating you. Right, so in the room when we're the conference room, or when we're talking about candidates, we'll have your CV sometimes on screen or in front of us, printed out, and we'll be talking about you. So, well, what do you think about her? Okay, Because look, I know she doesn't have this, but she did this here, right? And that's why it's got to be scannable. It's got to be easy, nicely laid out. I can say, no, look, see, have a look, right? No, here, bring it up on screen, right? So this is how we're using your experience section. Now, pitching that in the right way is a challenge. So here's how I like to do it, okay? Let me show you now. Let me put that on screen. It's the same template we've been looking at. I'm just going to talk through it in a slightly different way now. Okay, so here we go. So introduction, bits, and then we got, that's my summary here. And then here we go, right? Company name. Now, I prefer that. Sometimes you see people put their job title first. That's okay. It's okay. I just like company first. It's my preference. So it doesn't, right? I like company first. I like dates on the right. Okay, out of the way so I can quickly find them. Sometimes you see people, the dates are here, or they're let's just take that back again. They're down here, or right. Just keep it simple. Whatever, keep it simple so I can find them. I like them on the right. Okay, right. Then underneath I've got the role. What was the role? Now, on your role, I need to explain it to other people. We need to understand it. It may well be you've got a job title on your contract or on your payslip that doesn't make sense to other people, or it really makes sense for your company, right? Because of how they've laid things out. Sometimes I see this senior analyst data 1. What's that mean? Well, it means something in your company, right? But make sure that the job title you're specifying, make sure it makes sense to me externally. And it is okay. You don't have to use the legal job term that's in your contract. Or it may well be that whatever it says in your contract often is it'll be something to do with the project you're on, or something, or sometimes it doesn't make sense externally. Change it. It's okay to change it to the correct term that other people understand. Okay? Now, it's not okay to instantly upgrade yourself or essentially lie, right? So the sense check here is if you showed this CV to your boss, right, your existing boss, would they go, what? Well, hold on a minute, that's a little bit rich, or why have you put this, right? That's your sense check. You don't. I wouldn't suggest doing that, by the way, right? But if in doubt, chat to some of your colleagues and say, look, that's right, isn't it? This is what I'm doing, okay? So make sure you've got a useful summary for your job title, okay? Now, it's often sometimes quite useful if you're applying for a data analyst role and your job was data administrator, and essentially, from looking at the job spec, that's what you've been doing at your existing company, put data analyst, right? If your job title is data administrator, but data analyst fits it, we're okay, right? So give a lot of thought to that. Now, my preference is always bullet point, okay? Bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, not narrative. By narrative, I mean sentences. So in first person or third person, I don't want that Ewan created a so-and-so in, right? The reason I don't want text, typically speaking, is because I need to scan quickly. I need to compare you with others quickly, and a whole wall of text being presented at me. And we see this often on TikTok Live, where we just get a whole wall, right? It's just text. And you can see the reactions in the chat room. People going, wow, wall of text. Because it's coming, right? And where do you look? So we want bullet points typically, right? Because they're encouraging you to be brief and to the point. And then they're really nice and easy to assimilate, right? To read and scan and get the gist quickly. If you've got narrative, so just sentences of stuff, right, in paragraph form, that's often really helpful for LinkedIn, okay, where someone's sitting and reading. But it's not that helpful on a CV, because by default, for the last X years, We've all been using this kind of bullet point form. Do as you wish. There is no right and wrong answer here. I'm just saying this is often a more successful, in my view, my experience, a more successful format. Right. Now, I have gone into a bit detail already on how I like to lay stuff out. So let me just do that once more in that I like this kind of, do you see, let me just zoom in a bit more here, make sure we're up there a bit more. Yeah, right. So I like that 2 words. Okay, 2 words in bold. Now these can be key skills or areas or functions or things you want to highlight so that when I'm scanning your CV, right, and look, this is at the top half of the page, right? Okay, so this is probably the most important, the thing that I'm going to look at, right, when I'm scanning, okay? Even if I don't read your CV, I'm going to look here and probably here. Maybe here. Now, I've deliberately built in some sub-bullet points here just so we've got a bit of a difference in our format, right? So 2 words. 2 words. I love this approach, okay? 2 words summarizing. Maybe 3, right? But two words summarizing the bullet point, okay? So I can scan down and go, okay, reporting to, I care about this, right? Then I can read the rest of the bullet point. But then I can just ignore, Tableau, I don't care about that, right? Oh, conversational AI, let me read about that, right? Or, oh, error reduction. Yeah, that's interesting. Then I can read the rest of it. Now, generally speaking, if I just take this bit out here, this is still a wall of text, okay? It's still a wall. If you look at this on screen, it's all big, and I've deliberately, I've extended this and I've repeated it. Don't ignore the actual data, right? It's just an example. But this is a wall, yes, but there are numbers in here, okay? So people will be scanning and looking for numbers, okay? They'll be looking for terms, SQL, for example, right? Chatbot program, Disney Live, Tableau report bit, right? So as this is way better than a narrative because, yes, there's still a big wall of text, but it's organized. It is consistent. Do you see I've made it 2 lines per section, right? 2 lines on every, not 3, because sometimes if it goes on to 3, right, that breaks that easy scanning, okay? And then it becomes, so if I make, let's make this one look, go on to another line as well, right? It becomes a little bit inconsistent when I'm scanning down, okay? So that's why I like it to just be 2 lines. Now, yes, it is still a wall of text, but at least we've broken it up. We've got nice bullet points, okay? Standardized, as people are expecting. And then we've got 2 words in bold, guiding my eye, should I choose? Now, often what you'll see is the opposite. If I take all the bold off, and often what you'll see is this, right? You start putting bold in all over the place. And I find difficult to read. Me. Don't know about you, but I find it difficult to read, so I don't ever do it this way, in my view, right? I sometimes see it where, let me just take that back. I sometimes see it like this, where the person has gone and they've bolded, and let me do this bit here so it doesn't wrap. Actually, I'll do that bit here. Like they've bolded that, okay, and then they've bolded this bit, okay, and then they've bolded this bit, okay. So you think, what am I reading here? What am I reading? Okay, that is really difficult and a difficult approach, right? When you've got all of these kind of sentences and half the document is bold. I see this a lot. Half the document bold. No. So guide my eye. Okay. Now I've put a lot of data in here for this. You choose. I wanted to do more than's perhaps necessary, right? Depending on how important your role you feel is and how important it is to get your experience and capability over to the employer, that's going to determine your length. So at an absolute minimum, I'd say, look, there's no right or wrong answer here, right? But I'd say, look, let's just take that off here, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bullet points. Great. But we've got quite a lot of detail in there, right? If you remember back to when we were looking at styles, you might have 4 bullet points, but you've got hardly any text, okay? Right. Now, let me just go reset. So the next point here, can we make sure every bullet point is actionable? So you may be listing duties, and you see a lot of people, what the first thing they do when they're writing their CV is they go to their job spec that they were given in the contract, for example, or the job spec of their role, and they just cut and paste, put that in. That's okay, but we don't just want to see duties, right? Open the shop every morning, right? We want to see outcomes as well. Now let's talk about your bullet points, the actual bullet points here. Make sure they're actionable. Now by that, what I mean by that is, so what? So read every single bullet point and say to yourself, so what? And imagine me standing there saying, so what? So if we look at reporting dashboards, responsible for the implementation of the company's first group-wide corporate dashboards. Okay, this, including profit and loss and reporting. Okay, fine. If I was being challenging, I'd say, so what? Right? In this case, I'm all right with it because it's a statement on what you did. Okay, and then I can then come down and see, right, here is, so you were responsible for the reporting dashboards in the company. Fine, right? And they were using live profit and loss production data. Fine, okay. But then here, the next one, that's where I'm now looking for outcomes. So what, right? So what? So here I'm saying, okay, you implemented 40 plus dashboards. Great. Okay, and then within 90 days of arrival. Wow. Okay, hold on a minute. So you had 40 dashboards using Tableau. That's a technical system, and you did that within 90 days of arrival. Okay. Now I've got a view on the volume of work, the kind of outcomes I got, or the company got, and what I could expect as well, right? So if I'm thinking of hiring a data analyst, and one of our key things that we want is some kind of dashboard reporting, we've already got a very big tick here because you've shown me, you've detailed and defined what you delivered. Okay, this is important. So look for outcomes. The so what is useful, right? Why? Now there's all these various different methods like the STAR method and so on of saying you'll be very specific, time bound and so on. That's one way, but really what I want is with every single bullet point you're doing, make sure that it's relevant. Make sure that there's a reason why it's there. And every one of these bullet points should be giving me some value, right? So here I've got 100 plus SQL queries that you made, right? I get numbers, right? I've reduced error reporting by 24%. Be careful on percentages. What I sometimes see is because I'm saying to individuals, please make sure they're measurable, make sure there's outcomes. What I often see is then the CV comes back to me with every single line has a percentage in it. And sometimes you did this by 20%, increased that by 30%, removed this by 70%. If there's too many percentages, it begins to look a bit suspect, okay? Because look, I don't know. We don't know. You're saying you reduce SQL error reporting by 24% by rewriting the process system, okay, whatever, right? It needs to be believable. When you just say 70%, right, or did this by 70%, increase this by 60%, it can be unbelievable, right? We will not believe it, or we will find it a bit weak if you haven't said how. Now, saying how you did that gives us an idea on what we think is realistic from our own experience, okay? So that's important, and you can test this by asking a friend or a colleague, saying, "Hey, look, I've said this. Does that sound reasonable?" Okay, and the most effective way, of course, is putting in the accurate data. Right? Sometimes we can't remember. Right? When you're writing from writing experiences a couple of years in the past, that's difficult. Right? You just have to make your best guess. But we are looking for measurable outcomes. Sometimes it's a statement, like I've got the top there, where it's just saying, "This is what I was doing," right? Other times you want to make sure there are numbers, right? So if in doubt, make sure there are we've got numbers in there, right? Some people say, "Well, how do I quantify this stuff?" Well, time bound, right? So how many time? What did you do in what time? How many projects, right? So often people say, I was responsible for all projects. Okay, don't just say all projects. How many projects? 14 projects. Great, okay. What kind of projects? Oh, right, yes, I did this. Right, okay, well, maybe we want another line saying, implemented the following projects. finance system, so on, so, right? So it's just about bringing out how good you are, right? And this is the challenge, okay? Trying to figure out how you get the best possible bullet points from your experience and getting them down on the page. It is difficult, it's not easy, but it's important, okay? And if in doubt, just get it out of your head and onto the page, then we can iterate, okay? So get it out. So ask yourself, what was I doing? Where are the cool things that I'm really proud of? What skills do I want to show off about, right? That I can begin to make sure are reflected in the bullet points. I'm going to come to skills, but often I see it on a CV where the individual simply says skills, Excel reporting, SQL, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And what I'll say is, okay, now, where have you used those skills? Because it's frustrating when you've got a CV and it says data analysis as a skill. Great, okay, but that's what we want, someone that does that. But what have you done with it? And you go through the CV hunting. So they've just said their skill is data analysis. They haven't said how they used that or how they created that skill or evidenced it. So if you've got skills on your CV, and lots of people will write these out, okay, and they present them on the CV. Sometimes it's coming first on the CV. It's okay, right? But how did you do that? So if you're looking for inspiration, go to your skills section, right? Because most people have some kind of skills section. I'll come to that, right? But most people have that. Use that as inspiration for what you could be saying in your bullet points. Okay, let me stop there. I've got more to say on this. Let's go to the next video.